Take the beauty of that song and those words for a few minutes as we go inside. So I invite you to get in a comfortable position, let go of anything you're holding on to. Close your eyes if you're comfortable, and inhale a nice cleansing breath, and exhale. And feel the release. Again, inhale and release. Our breath is free. It helps settle our minds to be free. And in this space, we realize our oneness and our wholeness in spirit, in the universe. As I experience this realm, I know that we are all one. I know that all is being provided by Spirit throughout the universe. I open my mind and my heart to good. We live in a bountiful world of substance, provided by Spirit, that is ours to mold and bring forth into expression in our own unique way, whatever that might be. We flow in the substance, much like fish in the water. It's all around us. It's available at all times. And we bring it forth with our special gifts and our minds and hearts working together. As a unique expression of God. I am comforted by knowing all is available all the time. To me, to you, to everyone and everything in the universe. I live my life as a channel of good. In spirit and in daily life. I am always grateful. Grateful for this experience. And grateful for the knowledge that I am always supported in spirit. And I can never lose that, no matter what happens on the outside. We are all unique expressions of God in this world, doing our work. And it is good. And now we take another breath and release. And we take a moment in the silence, realizing these truths. And now I bring these truths and realizations from the still small voice inside me, the voice of Spirit, and I bring it forth into the world to do good, to experience the bounty of the universe, and help others experience the same bounty and more than they could possibly imagine. And for all of these blessings, I am grateful. Amen. And now let us join together in singing a new Lord. Today's topic, right? Spiritual economics. $2.17, all I need. So welcome, greetings. Today's topic is spiritual economics, which is based on this book by Eric Butterworth. And Reverend Eric Butterworth was a longtime Unity minister in New York City. He's one of my favorite teachers and writers in Unity, and so I encourage you to check out all of his work. And there are some copies of this in the bookstore and in the lending library if it interests you. So we're talking economics today. Not right. Okay. All right. You got the slide? There we go. Okay, thank you. So the first thing is, I'd like to talk about what is prosperity. So a definition of prosperity. And from the book here, Eric says, the word prosperity comes from the Latin root, which literally translates according to hope, or to go forward hopefully. Thus, it is not so much a condition in life as it is an attitude towards life. Okay? So in Unity, we talk about working inside out. So our attitude and our beliefs and our feelings and all these things lead to our outer expression. And he goes on to say, prosperity is a way of living and thinking, and not just money or things. Poverty is a way of living and thinking, and not just a lack of money or things. Okay? So prosperous with money or without money is possible, and being in poverty with money or without money is possible also. So one example of that is, I did some research, and 70%, did you know 70% of people who win the lottery, like millions and above, lose it within like 1 to 10 years. They're broke. They have less than they started with. Okay, and 30%, or about a third, actually file bankruptcy. Okay, so, you know, every time I think about that, I think, oh, that would never happen to me. So I ought to win the lottery. But actually, along those lines, one of the things, I don't buy lottery tickets very often. Once in a blue moon I do, but I've always thought that in the mode of tithing, that if I won the lottery, I would definitely give at least half of it away, you know, to spiritual and charity and other things like that, and just not try and hold on to all of that, but do good with it. So the consciousness of people is really what drives the end results, okay? Somehow someone might win a lottery ticket and win all the good stuff, but if I don't have the consciousness to really appreciate it and hold on to it, it's not gonna stay. And that's demonstrated quite clearly. Okay. So I've talked about this the last couple times I've been here. It's all about consciousness, right? And raising our consciousness through different levels, and also that helps raise everybody's consciousness, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So the same is true for prosperity. This is just kind of like one application. Our economic situations, globally and locally and personally, are related, caused by our consciousness. Okay? So many people, many times, are in a victim level of consciousness where everything is done to me. You know, like it's out of my control, I can't do anything about it. You know, I'm the victim consciousness. And then we have the victor consciousness, which kind of puts that aside and says, wait a second, I can do something about this, and I'm gonna do something about this. But the focus is on me doing something, right? And taking control in the physical realm to do something and make things happen. And this is where we can, as kind of victors, if we focus on making money, and I'm in a victor consciousness, and if I spend, you know, most of my life energy focused on making money, I think I probably could make money, okay? I haven't personally focused on that as my thing, you know, to become Bill Gates or whatever, but if anyone, I believe anyone, if you really focused all your physical, mental energy on that, and some people do, you can make something happen. That's the victor consciousness for prosperity. And then we have vessel, which is realizing it's not just all about me and what I do. It's really the flow of God, of spirit within me. And I am a vessel of expression of all this good, and I'm going to bring it out into expression into this world. And that's the vessel consciousness. Doesn't that feel totally quite different from the victor, where I'm just going to make it all happen? It's just a whole different level of consciousness about it. And then finally, we have the verity consciousness, where I am what I am. I am that I am. I am spirit, and everything is provided in every way, all the time. So a few other practical examples of the consciousness. I don't know if you recognize these two gentlemen, but we have Bernie Madoff and Warren Buffett. Okay, both were billionaires. In fact, Warren Buffett is like the third richest person in the world, okay? And Bernie Madoff is famous for, he was a billionaire that made all his money basically on a Ponzi scheme, and it all crashed, and now he's in federal prison for the rest of his life, pretty much. So both highly successful if you look at it from a victor kind of thing of making money happen and all of that, but they did it in very different ways, right? And the sustainability was very different. They had a different consciousness about what they were doing. And it was really interesting with Warren Buffett that after college and things, he really wanted to work on Wall Street. And he did a number of things to work on Wall Street and had a great mentor. And a couple great mentors said no. And they wouldn't hire him, and they told him, this isn't for you. And so that's when he ended up going back home to Omaha, Nebraska, and starting his investment firm, and he's been there ever since. And here's a guy with billions of dollars that is living in a kind of like a suburban neighborhood in a stucco house that, you know, he bought 30 years before, and, you know, he could have mansions and islands and boats and all those things. He didn't have any of that, you know, kind of thing. He just had a different consciousness, but he enjoys it. The other fun thing he does, which, because I like sports, I hear about this. If you're familiar with NCAA basketball and the March Madness tournament, and there's a lot of people that, you know, you pick all the teams and so forth. Well, Warren Buffett in his company, Berkshire Hathaway, if an employee actually selected all of the teams in the 64 bracket, they win $1 million. Just from him, you know, just for fun. And he's on sports talk shows, and he's just having a great old time, you know. But he's not like grabbing onto it and forcing it and making it happen. It's just joy. He enjoys the money thing, and it's worked out for him. Okay. So another quote from Eric here: God can do no more for you than he can do through you. All the help of God cannot aid you except as it flows through your consciousness, through your faith, through your vision. So before you attempt to raise money, the first step should be to raise consciousness. To know that the place on which you are standing is holy ground. Okay? And that's how you get a firm ground, and with that faith and that understanding, and it's sustainable. If you don't have that, then it's kind of quicksand or unstable ground that will not be sustained. Another example would be, you know, Jesus Christ. You know, how many, was Jesus Christ, quote, rich? You know, in terms of dollars and cents. I think he probably had the $2.17, if anything, you know. But, you know, he had verity consciousness. It was all good, and it was all provided all the time. And he didn't have to stress or strain over it, right? And that's prosperity. He had everything he always needed, anytime he needed it. And sure, he had rich friends, he had poor friends, he had all kinds of different people supporting him, but that was all part of the process. And the other thing that he always was grateful for everything he had at any point in time and every point in time. Oops. I'm going to go back to that. So, a couple of things, just personal examples in my life, and it goes back to just about the time when this book was published in the early 80s with the Youth of Unity. I was in grad school, but my job was I was driving, kind of like a FedEx courier service. It was a competitor of FedEx. And hourly thing, and you know, you're living paycheck to paycheck and all that. And so it was a 2-year grad school program. I'd been in 1 year and was driving during that. And then in the summer, in August, we had our Youth of Unity, which is high school age program in Kansas City. At Unity Village, we have our annual conference. And what we would do is it was a week-long conference, and we break into what we called family groups. So we had groups of about a dozen or 15 kids with a leader, and at that time, also with a minister that was there in school. And so I was the leader of one of these family groups, along with this minister assisting me, and it was just a transformative experience for me and for the minister that was in school. The minister that was assisting me, she came into it like, why do I have to do this? I don't like kids. I don't want to do this. I don't, you know. And by the end of the week, this is serious. She's like, by the end of the week, she said, I love the kids. This is all I want to do. You know, it was just like a total transformation. For me, what came out of that experience was I just got the light bulb that, you know, I need to do something more in what I wanted to do professionally. I was in adult education master's program, and I just needed to use my gifts instead of driving a truck. You know, that was the big message I got. So, you know, you drive home from Unity Village on the weekend, and I walk in Monday morning and give my 2-week notice. I have no idea what I'm going to do, right? And I'm just day to day, you know. And within those 2 weeks, you know, a job got posted in my department, working with a couple professors from the department for the same amount of pay that I was making, which was pretty good hourly pay, for the same amount of pay I was making driving truck. But I was using my gifts. And for me, that was just kind of a leap of faith, but it was so clear in my consciousness that that was what I needed to do and to trust it. And so I did that. And I always use that as, you know, my personal great example, and I use that on myself when I get nervous about money or other things or other changes in my life, you know, and things like that. I think back to that and also as my anchor around the prosperity consciousness. Another key aspect of building this consciousness then is gratitude. So in the book here, Eric talks about that there was a missionary in Africa that related his work with a tribe. That one tribe was mysteriously poverty-stricken. They were much poorer than all the other tribes in that area that were relatively doing okay, you know, prosperous. And he couldn't figure out why. And he started to study it, and he found one possibility that in their tribal language they had no word with which to express gratitude in this one tribe that was not doing well, okay? And so it brought up this whole idea, could this loss of spirit of thanksgiving have been responsible for their poverty, was the question. And could it be that our own financial problems may be the result of the loss, even temporarily, of a grateful heart? So that's important to understand about the consciousness of economics and of prosperity. And I remember a number of years ago, I was talking with a friend who was kind of struggling financially, and I said, well, give more. And he like, what? He literally said, how does that work? You know, because, you know, for a lot of people, it's just not intuitive that, but to build the flow and build my consciousness, I need to give. And it can be time, talent, treasures. It's not just all about money, but it's about creating that gratitude and the flow of that consciousness. Okay. And it's not just for me or you. So in terms of the layers of consciousness and how my consciousness, it starts with me, but it goes out to others, it goes out to the group as we have a consciousness within this group right here, and within Unity of Madison, and within our community, and with our state, and in our country, in our world, and it keeps expanding. And I'm a part of that, you're a part of that, we're all a part of that. So what we bring to that is also our responsibility. So if we don't like the way things are going, one of the first things I got to do is look at myself and my thinking and my consciousness, and am I sending the right messages? Am I building my consciousness in a way that's supporting the kinds of things I want to have happen or not? Okay? And that is really how things can change. In the book, he talks about different ways, like the whole economy. There was a Wall Street Journal article many, many years ago, could be changed by positive thinking, so it's not unusual, but it's just the consciousness and my thinking leads to the collective, and it influences and vice versa. So we have our personal responsibility and our collective responsibility. Okay, so how do we do all this? How do we build this consciousness? Well, in Unity, we always talk about the prayer, meditation, denials, and affirmations. Those are some of our basic tools, and it's not just in Unity. In many spiritual traditions, we use those tools, but also the gratitude. So giving in gratitude. So whether it's here or anywhere else, I have to have a grateful heart to really give. Okay? I might put some money in a basket or give someone money on the street, but if I do it out of kind of, I'm obligated, I gotta do it, that's completely different than giving out of gratitude and being grateful for being able to give. The other pieces, and I should say they all work together. All of this works together because we're trying to build our consciousness and also the consciousness around us. And I love this part where he says, I am God's living enterprise, and God cannot fail. Therefore, there can be no failure in God. Any appearance of failure is in consciousness, a frustration of creative potential. Okay? So that's the verity level. Okay? If I am spirit, how can spirit fail? How can spirit, suffer? I am spirit. That's the verity level. That was what Jesus Christ was doing and demonstrating, and it was good, right? He didn't suffer that way. It was all there. And I'm sure you see people and know people where it seems like everything's great and it's all there. Well, it's not because they fought so hard, it's consciousness. Okay. So our economics are real, and don't want to make light of anyone's situation, but we want to start with ourselves first and look at the levels of consciousness and where am I coming from in this particular issue. And around prosperity, where am I coming from? Am I coming from the victim, from the victor, from the vessel, or the verity? And do a self-check. And then use these different ways of building the consciousness for myself, for my friends, for other people that I touch in the world. So that's the spiritual economics kind of philosophy of Eric Butterworth. And again, the book's available here if you would like that. And I'd like to wrap up with his affirmation, which is very powerful and something to take away and use in your meditations, in your prayers, and in just walking and doing everything that you do on a daily basis. So let's affirm this together. Together. I am God's living enterprise, and God cannot fail. Amen. Thank you.
Wow, thank you